Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and I have glorious breaking news for you. The SEC has dismissed its case against Ripple executives Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larsen. That's right, they have thrown in the towel, they have given up. This is embarrassing defeat. They knew that they didn't have a damn chance if this went to trial, as was scheduled for April of 2024. It's over, folks. Ain't happening here. This news just broke. Let's see, it was broken by XRP community member and attorney James K. Filan at 3:42 p.m. Central Time. That's my time zone. And it's at the time I'm recording this, it's 4:23 p.m., so 41 minutes ago. So I'm going to get you the initial response and the specifics of what's going on here and get this out as quick as possible so that the rest of the world can celebrate on YouTube. But this is absolutely fantastic news. And just you think about this whole journey that we've all been on, dating back to December of 2020. And the fact that the SEC, in addition to suing Ripple, actually sued Garlinghouse and Larsen in addition to this, making the claims that they made in a non-fraud case. There was no precedent for this. It was clear overcharging, and it was a very clear bullying tactic. And the SEC it's just utter disgrace and defeat for them now. So I'll share with you all the specifics, but before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Oh, by the way, the price of XRP did pop on this news. It was up, it's up 4.32% within the last hour. The highest I saw, it was up 6.25% or so a little bit before I started recording this video. Don't know what's going to happen. I wouldn't expect this news, although it is fantastic. I wouldn't expect this to impact the price of XRP, given that, the fact that XRP getting legal clarity. Fine. That did result in the price of XRP nearly doubling in a matter of hours. But I'm just saying, don't expect it to go to no new all-time high as a result of this. But still, fantastic to see all of this. So shout out and credit to attorney James K. Filan for breaking this news, which is quickly being shared throughout the XRP community and really throughout crypto as well. And so here's the letter. And this was filed to Judge Torres by SEC attorney Jorge Tenrero. Reads as follows. Dear Judge Torres, Plaintiff Securities and Exchange Commission respectfully notifies the court of the stipulated dismissal of the SEC's pending claims against defendants Christian Larsen and Bradley Garlinghouse. This court's July 13th, 2023 order set for trial the SEC's claim that the individual defendants aided and abetted Ripple's violations of Section 5 of the Securities Act of 1933 with Ripple's institutional sales of XRP. Pursuant to a rule, I don't need to read what the rule is, yada, 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 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, the parties have stipulated to the dismissal with prejudice of this claim. This voluntary dismissal obviates the need for the scheduled trial on this claim and moots the October 3rd, 2023 scheduling order. And I'll just pause to note here, this is an outright dismissal. This is not a settlement. This is an outright dismissal. The SEC has thrown in the towel. They have given up. They overcharged. They're bullies. They shouldn't have done this in the first place. Things have not gone so well for them. This entire legal process has just been an utter train wreck for the SEC because they're on the wrong side of history and they're disgusting monsters. And then they wrote here, the SEC and Ripple intend to meet and confer on a potential briefing schedule with respect to the pending issue in the case. What remedies are proper against Ripple for its Section 5 violations with respect to its institutional sales of XRP, and respectfully request until November 9th, 2023 to propose such schedule to the court, or, if the parties cannot agree, to seek a briefing schedule from the court on a contested basis. And so, folks, what we have here is a situation where all that's left here is to decide what the remedies would be for that specific portion that Ripple lost, which frankly doesn't matter to us as XRP holders. Because XRP itself is declared to not be a security. Secondary market transactions are okay. I mean, you guys know the whole thing. I don't need to rehash all that. But a couple things that happen. Either they actually do come to an agreement here, and this thing's actually wrapped up, or ultimately the SEC could still appeal this. So it's possible, but understand, even if the SEC appeals the final decision, It only pertains to transactions that have to do with Ripple. It wouldn't change the fact that XRP is not a security. It wouldn't change secondary market transactions or anything of the sort. So even if the SEC appealed, and even if they appealed and won, which I think is a fantasy land thing, it ain't happening, but even if they did, just hypothetically, it wouldn't matter to us. It would matter to Ripple's transactions specifically. We already won, folks. Like this is we're good to go here. I mean, I can't imagine what disastrous thing would have to happen for this to be undone. Like we're in the clear here. Now take a look at this from Ripple's chief legal officer, Stuart Alderati. He shared this news and wrote the following on social media platform X. The SEC made a serious mistake going after Brad and Chris personally, and now they've capitulated, dismissing all charges against our executives. This is not a settlement. This is a surrender by the SEC. That's 3 consecutive wins for Ripple, including the July 13th decision ruling that, as a matter of law, XRP is not a security. The October 3rd decision denying the SEC's bid for an interlocutory appeal, and now this. Absolutely. It's delightful to see. I love to see these asshat pricks losing. And I understand that they're the ones that decided to dismiss this, but that's because they knew they had nothing. They're on the losing end of this. They knew it. Oh, this is just, it's hallelujah. You gotta love this stuff, folks. You gotta love this. Attorney John Deaton's initial response is right here on your screen. He reposted the news from Attorney Filan, and John Deaton wrote, "As I said, the SEC was never going to take this to trial." Spot on, Attorney Deaton. Attorney Bill Morgan wrote, "Great news for Brad and Chris that the SEC case against them has been dismissed with prejudice. No trial for them next April. Now we move on to the penalties phase of the case. Then we can see who appeals what." Spot on. And so just as a reminder, here's an article. This is from June 14th, before we had legal clarity for XRP. This is from You Today. SEC bullies Ripple CEO and Chris Larsen. John Deaton says, here's their response. And I'm not going to read the article, but just as a reminder to see just how ridiculous this is. And you can only imagine, I mean, the fact that Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larsen, they decided they were going to see this through, that speaks to their character and their own emotional and mental fortitude, because they did have an opportunity for settlement before the suit was actually filed. And I don't know what that would have looked like. That hasn't been disclosed publicly, but it wouldn't have been good for the XRP community, presumably, and certainly wouldn't have been good for Ripple. So they were trying to strong-arm Brad and Chris. And since they weren't playing ball, because the terms obviously wouldn't have been agreeable, Brad said, nope, we're going to stick this thing out, despite these outrageous claims. So, kudos to Brad Garlinghouse for actually sticking this out, and same to Chris Larsen here. And so here's what Brad Garlinghouse had to say on June 13th, a month before XRP had legal clarity. "It's absolutely unconscionable that a regulator, when presented with so much pushback on what he was about to say / how he compiled this fake test in the first place," and by the way, he's referencing the Bill Hinman Ethereum Free Pass speech, and then Brad Garlinghouse says, "decided to move forward anyway and throw an entire industry into chaos. For the SEC to sue Chris Larsen and me personally for allegedly selling unregistered securities when their own division had deliberately created confusion about this, well, I don't have a single polite word to describe this deplorable, politically motivated overreach. Seeing the depth to which the SEC has essentially weaponized the lack of regulatory clarity through enforcement actions since this speech was given, it's no surprise that we can call bluff on their claims to just come in and register as nothing but in bad faith." Well, obviously that's correct. And so Attorney Deaton reposted that, and this is on June 14th of this year. He writes, "In my opinion, Ripple CEO is showing great restraint here. After a 2.5-year investigation, he was personally sued in a non-fraud case where it was alleged that he was reckless in not knowing XRP was a security in 2015, when SEC enforcement lawyers themselves couldn't determine if XRP was a security in 2018 when they wrote the XRP memo, while also considering that those same enforcement lawyers were allowed to own / trade XRP up until 2019. But he was reckless. And let's not forget that despite the fact that he and Chris Larsen provided the SEC with evidence documenting every single XRP sale they've ever made, the SEC still attempted to bully and intimidate them by seeking every bank and credit/debit card transaction they've made for the last decade. Judge Netburn, of course, shut that gross overreach down, but I'm not sure I could be so politely stern. And so, folks, I actually had forgotten about that until I read this from Attorney D. Do you remember this? I remember covering it at the time. They were literally trying, the SEC was seeking this. Oh my God, talk about overreach. It has nothing to do with XRP. They were trying to get every credit card statement and every debit card statement that Garlinghouse and Larsen had made going back for the last decade. That has nothing to do with XRP. They want to look at the groceries he bought. What in the ever-loving hell is that? What a despicable, disgusting agency. These people should be ashamed of themselves. They're absolute pricks. They're just disgusting, despicable humans. In fact, in that sentence, I'm using the term human loosely. So it's fantastic to see how this has now come to an end. XRP declared not a security. The executives, off the hook, obviously, finally. They never should have been charged in the first place. It was clearly nothing but a bullying tactic. But you know what should be done has been done to this point. We'll see if the SEC ends up appealing the Ripple case, but it might end up being that they just end up finding agreeable terms for the settlement, and that's that, because I think the SEC knows that they're screwed here. They are not going to, they can appeal this all they want, and by the time it gets anywhere, if it does, and that's a question mark, if it does, Gary Gensler isn't even going to be in charge of the SEC anymore in all likelihood. So anyway, you can do another little victory dance, a little happy dance right now if you want. Let me know what you think, but that's it. Just a quick little video. I wasn't planning on making another video today, but with this news, oh yes, absolutely. This is fantastic to see. You gotta love it. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.